Okay, welcome back to the Bootleg Corner Movie Review Hours, and this time we'll be going in the horror direction with weapons. Now, the last time I did a movie review for a horror movie was also with a Zach Cregger production of Barbarian. I think Barbarian was it 2021 or 22? I think I did a review for that in 2023 or 24. I really maybe have to check my YouTube to see what date I did that on. But the last time I watched a horror movie and I did a review on it, I wasn't really feeling Barbarian at the time. I felt some of the decisions, some of the actions there were... You just have to watch the review. I can't remember what I said right now. But seeing it was the same director who did that one and also is doing this one, I was now thinking, is it really that good? Or can I really see it? But then, like, critic reviews were glowing. It was having heavy success at the box office. So I said I had to basically see this. And I was surprised it came out quite early after his box office, after his cinema run. Because normally when movies do very well at the box office, they tend to keep them in cinemas at least to extract as much as they can from it. So I was quite surprised. I was surprised and both surprised and happy because it was coming out digitally. But like I said, when movies do well in box office, they don't really come out that early. But now getting onto weapons, it's small town. It's really a small town, but small town gets a visit from an old lady and aunt to one of his citizens, and things begin to go very wrong. Now with Josh Brolin, who played Archer in this series, it was a very easy fix to watch. Josh Brolin is like one of those guys, if you see him in a movie, even no matter how whatever the rest of the actors are doing, Josh Brolin is like an easy draw for me. Julia Garner, also seeing her in this movie, hearing her voice, it was just easy to connect her, and like hearing her voice again in Fantastic Four as the Silver Surfer, when her voice is in high pitch, I think it's very easy to zone out and imagine her as the Silver Surfer. I don't know how that casting came about, but I'm grateful, I'm happy for her because 2 roles in 2 different movies, 2 of the best movies of the year. I think she nailed a significant role in both places. Now, the script of this one kind of reminds me also again of Prisoners in 2013, where after watching those movies, if you have little kids around you, if you have kids or nephews or stuff like that, you start being a little more careful, a little more worried about their movements, about their surroundings. And I think watching Prisoners and watching this one, it gave me that feeling, like to watch my nephews and my nieces a lot closely, because I mean, crazy things can happen at any point in time. Now, to start off with, I like the story of this one. I like the jump scares. Basically, there was not too much build up into it. There was not too much emphasis. They were just dropping it like in significant points. They did not really try to, I don't know how to say, try to pack it in so much, but they just found specific locations and specific scenes to just put the jump scares in, and that it made the experience very worthwhile. Another thing I want to say is, normally with horror movies, you get outlandish creatures or supernatural creatures or some basically non-human elements in it. But in this one, because the horror element, the horrific nature of things, the jump scares and everything were basically humans, I think it lended more credence, it lended more sincerity, it made it feel a little bit too real and way more scary than if it was just some creature or some monster or something. Because these were basically normal humans doing crazy things in broad daylight. Like when in this scene here, basically when Benedict Wong was running towards Archer and Julia Garner's character, I mean, when they just turned the camera towards him, I felt goosebumps on my body. I think I'm feeling goosebumps on my body right now talking about that. I'm remembering that scene. When the camera just turned on him, he was just running. His face covered in blood, his arms spread out wide, in broad daylight. I think I'm feeling goosebumps right now, and I think that's what I want to see from horror movies. When you can inject a level of a feeling of coldness into your movies that just it freezes the audience basically, and I think it froze me at that point. When like broad daylight, normal discussion, she thinks her day is just going all right, maybe not really all right, but I think she was having a conversation or a confrontation with Archer, and then she looks across the road and sees Benedict Wong running with his face bloodied, running arms outstretched towards her, trying to kill her. And look at his face, there's no thought in his head. He's been activated, weaponized by Miss Gladys, and like I mean, I don't know how to explain this, but it punched the ticket basically. If everything up until this moment if I had been feeling the series, like I've been feeling the movie, even if I had not been feeling, but at this point, if I had not been feeling it up until now, at this moment, I just knew. I just knew I was watching something serious. I was watching something serious. And like this guy, normally on a normal day, he won't run at that full pace without getting tired. But because his brain has been completely taken over by the need to kill Justin at any cost, running at full pace, at full tilt, in broad daylight, not minding wherever he is, his face all bloodied, after he had already done something equally as egregious in his own house. And now, like, even with Josh Brolin there, he was basically not even seeing Josh Brolin. It was just his main aim was just to get Justin and kill her at, like, to the best of his ability. And Justin gets in her car, drives away from the gas station, and he's still running on full tilt with his leg. And I don't know how he intends to catch her, but his brain has been hijacked. And then he gets into a car, rams into him at the intersection. And I was thinking they wouldn't show like his dead body and his bloodied parts and everything. But it seems Zach Cregger was willing to go full 100 for this movie. He was willing to go a full 100 for this movie. Now with Paul, the police officer, we never really got why he was afraid of his own blood, or why he was scared, or why he had a very visceral reaction to getting punctured by needles, or just basically seeing his own blood. And when he was searching, I think, this crackhead's pocket, and he saw, like, not really saw, he got punctured by a needle, his reaction was immediately violent. He didn't get an explanation for that. Some people have that reaction to seeing their own blood, some faint, and his own was just to basically go into overdrive. And at that point in time, the dash cam for police officers that they put in their cars was on, and he knew he couldn't book this guy, because if he booked him, then his career is basically done for. Decided to let the crackhead go. I think the crackhead name is James. And James accidentally became important in this series, because on his way to looking for drugs, on his way to looking for things to steal again, he went into Tilly's house, found some cassettes, found some, I think, some CD plates and some items. He was taking all their silver spoons and stuff to go and sell. And he discovered that the kids were in this basement, just standing there doing nothing. And the parents were completely zombified. And that's it was really scary. Like, another thing again with the jump scares, when you think everything is going all right and all well, and the parents are just there staring off into the space. And James was really, really lucky. He made it out of that house before Tilly's mother could lock that door, because I think if Gladys had come to meet him there, he was basically done for. But in the end, with the $50,000 reward on the line, he wanted to go to the police station again, and ended up meeting Paul. And Paul was there thinking that this guy wanted to come and report him again. And with everything wrong that had been going on in his life, I mean, he gave James a chase. And when James told him he had found the kids, he couldn't even really believe it. And this is where again we now see Gladys for the first time in the forest. Now I was thinking, like, at that point we hadn't been introduced to her character to know what she was doing or what she had done, or if she was even part of this movie. And I think she was in the forest at that time collecting those sticks that she uses to activate anybody that she wants to activate. I think that was what she was getting in the forest. Then with James hiding in his tent and Paul trying to find him, and he was thinking that was Miss Gladys, now stabbed him with a needle. I mean, come on. There are some funny parts of the movie, and it's basically like a comic relief, trying to massage the tension that they built up onto. And I like that sequence basically. But then going back to Tilly's house, and then Paul goes in, and then he gets activated and weaponized by Miss Gladys. And James is in there thinking that there's still a chance for him to get the $50,000 reward, even if he has to split it with Paul, the police officer. And basically Paul just comes back and drags him, takes him into the house, and he too gets activated and weaponized by Miss Gladys. Now we get the backstory of Marcus, that's Benedict Wong's character. When they get a visit from Miss Gladys, coming into their house and basically turning everything upside down. Now Marcus was a bit worried, what's the word again for that? I was trying to be careful, was not really comfortable with Miss Gladys coming into their home. But his partner was basically he didn't recognize or refused to recognize any of the cues that Marcus was putting out. And in the end, the Gladys just basically turned on him, or turned him into something else. Activated Marcus, made him kill his partner, then sent him after Justine. And now one thing I want to ask again is why? Because I think that was the most important. That was the most important question we have answered in this series. Gladys was basically turning a whole town into a horror story, and we've not answered the most important question of why. Was she angered by someone here? Was she grieving? Like, what is the basis for it? And I think that can serve both as a reason why, both as a reason for this story being more horrific and more outrageous than it is. Because dying and having all these things happen without knowing the why for it, basically puts a wild spin on it. Because not knowing why these things are happening, it punches the horror more. Even if, as the audience, you want to know why it's happening, but for the citizens of this town, and even for the audience too, there is no why. She's just doing it basically for the love of the game, if we are going to put it that way. She just comes into the town, meets Alex Tilley's parents, and basically just starts doing things, starts flipping things over. Why did she have the kids in the basement? We do not know. Why did she turn Alex Tilley's parents into zombies? We do not know. Why does she want to kill Justine? We do not know. But she's just doing it, and we have no justification for it. Basically, she wasn't wronged by any person in this town. She wasn't abused. She wasn't beat up, except maybe there's some past history. And now we are hearing Zach Cregger saying they are talking about greenlighting a sequel to see the backstory into Miss Gladys' history. So probably if we get a sequel into Weapons, that's when we'll get it, if there's a backstory to why these things are happening. But for right now, from this movie, there is no why. And that's the one question that is very basically unanswered. Why is Miss Gladys doing these things? We do not know. Why does she hate Justine so much? We do not know. Why does she capture all the kids and put them in their basement? We do not know. The only thing we know is that I think she said she was dying. I think that was what she told Alex Tilley, that she was dying and maybe the kids will make her feel better. So what is she using the kids for? And it's not like she can use them to replenish her youth or something. They are just basically standing around in the basement, getting fed soup and tuna and whatever it is that Alex Tilley is feeding them. And I think that's a very important question, and that's the most unanswered question coming out from watching this movie. The why was very much unanswered. Now with Justine and Archer, they get into the house finally, and like when they finally connect all the dots, and like thinking about this movie again, I think I'm getting goosebumps right now. And when they connect all the dots and find out that all the kids most likely went into Alex Julie's house, and like that's when the way Justine said it, like another thing with movies is delivery is very important in like movies, music, everything. Delivery of Justine when she said everyone went to like almost everybody went to Alex Tilley's house. I think that was a goosebumps moment for me in that movie again. And thinking about it right now, I think I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that scene. But going into the house, seeing everything all messed up as it is, and going downstairs, Alex and they are not even going down. Before they went downstairs, they are basically now seeing Paul and this other James. I don't think either of them met this James case at any point, but they are seeing Paul, who is a staple in their town, police officer, basically just frozen in one spot. And next thing you know, Paul is trying to kill Justine, and Archer is going after, and James is going after Archer. And Paul has been Justine's on and off lover for like some months or years now, depending on how long they have been in this town. And he's basically trying to kill her with no explanation. Eyes are completely dead. He's basically moving. He's been zombified basically. And at that point, when she pulled the gun on him, I was now thinking, where did she get the gun from? But I think Paul is a police officer and he always has his gun in him. So she took Paul's gun, was contemplating to shoot him with it, was trying not to. Close range. This is someone you know, who you've slept with, who you've had drinks with, who you've talked. I mean, come on. It's frightening having to be put in that situation. Close range. This is not like a distant sniper shot or someone like 5 feet away. They were basically almost face to face. with Paul trying to do his best to kill her, and the only thing she could do was shoot him. And what is even crazier is when she shot him the first time in the neck, a normally fatal shot. And Paul was bleeding, but he did not feel it. And he was still trying to choke the life out of her, and she had to shoot him the second time in the head. I mean, it's draining. It is draining. Like, you don't come out of such experiences the same person. You'll be like, your life is basically, a quarter of your life has basically been shaved up from such events. And it's not even as if when she killed James, everything was now over. They still have to battle with every other zombified person who Gladys had taken under her control. And now with Alex Tilly, I think he was very brave in this series. He was, I think, finding out that your parents have basically become robots and zombies for a woman and aunt you've never met, who can basically make them stab each other if you do not follow her instructions. And you have no one to tell, and she has instructed you to tell no one because she's going to know. And somehow, so I don't know, did she really know he did not tell anyone, or did she guess? Because when he came back from school and she said she knew that he didn't tell anyone about what had been going on in his house, was that really a guess, or did she really know? Because I don't think her powers extend that far. But then this is a kid, and a kid, when you've already done something to that magnitude of horror to his parents, he's basically going to believe that your powers are beyond whatever he thinks they are. And now making Alex to go and get all his classmates, get their properties, and at night everyone is running towards his house. And I cannot just imagine how Alex felt in the totality of everything that had happened in his house, having to feed his parents, having to clean up after them, having to go in the basement to feed his own classmates, having to clean up again, buying food from the store, cannot even tell anybody. Basically, you are living in a small world of horror at this young age. I mean, that's mentally taxing, that's horrific, that's destabilizing. A lot of words I cannot put to my head right now. Well, I don't think it's up to 10 years or so. Just living in your own house has become a haunted house, basically. Going home is taxing every single day, and you cannot tell anyone about what is happening because you know that worse things could basically happen. And he showed remarkable bravery in this series, because when everything was going haywire at the end, he had some quick thinking to run around, get into the rooms, lock the rooms doors, then finding out that he could even activate the kids or activate whatever zombies he could against Miss Gladys, picking up the stick, finding a strand of her hair from her wig, rubbing it with his own blood, poking himself, a kid knowing that he has to bleed himself. Kids, even though adults don't like bleeding, so that's normal stuff. That's like in general. Poking himself with the chapstick, rubbing it and breaking it. Like in that moment, in that particular moment, how many kids would think about like basically everything he has done in that moment? So he was very brave, was very intelligent, was very adaptive of him, and he basically saved everyone, saved everything in this series, because I think Miss Gladys now finding out that everything had been broken up. Where was she now running to? Did she think she could outrun the kids or what? Because when she had the feeling that everything had been scattered and the kids running out chasing after her, she was now running through the neighborhood. And I think this was one of the most fun parts of this series. I think for the kids, when they were filming it, I think this would have been great for them, just running around chasing an old woman. But we can see in this movie like the bloodlust in their eyes, going after her, running through houses, breaking through windows, not caring about doors. And I think another thing we can see is American houses are made with some funny item. I think basically because of their weather and their landscape and stuff, you cannot really make brick houses like we do here, because if you try that stuff in Nigeria here, you want to run into this block you'll be meeting, basically. But with houses that are constructed with wood and other stuff, they could easily run through the walls, break through the windows and all that stuff. And even if they couldn't run through the walls, but with the amount of bloodlust in their eyes and the amount of anger and hatred and everything that happens when you get activated against a certain person, don't be surprised if they can run through brick walls. But basically they got to Gladys and they tore her to pieces, basically. And that was horrific for children, because no matter if they've been activated, I think in the corner of their mind will still be registering all these memories. So you've got 9, 10-year-olds or whatever it is. I don't think those kids are more than 10 years old who are having memories of having murdered a woman. That's horror. These are the results of a horror movie and a horror story. And like I said earlier, I liked the horror elements very much. It's very bone chilling. You feel a certain amount of cold, like you're freezing when the moments of evil, the moments of terror come into this series. You did not have outlandish evil characters. It was basically humans, or one human, doing basically very, very nasty stuff. And I think that helped to strengthen the narrative very, very much. Now, like I said earlier, I did not answer the why of everything, so I think there were no real conclusions towards some storylines in this series. Like, it was very much open-ended. So with the why being open-ended, the why being left up to chance and left up to questioning, I think it's not really a weak mark against this series. Like I said, not knowing the why, like I said earlier, it strengthens the narrative. It strengthens the narrative. Now with the villain, Miss Gladys, she did not really have any gimmicks, any quotes, any mannerisms basically that would sell her. Like, I think I remember watching, Nosferatu, it Count Orlok, because of his appearance, and he basically has mannerisms basically. If you watch the It horror movie, I think Pennywise, he has his mannerisms, he has his quotes, I think you float too. Like Miss Gladys, she did not have any of that. She was basically an old woman who was seemingly a normal person with very, very dark intentions. And I think her not having any quotes, any mannerisms, any gimmicks, kind of reduces her threat level. Not really her threat, but the perception of her threat level basically. Because not having any of those is one of those things that it makes people remember the villain of a movie basically. There you have a special costume, mannerisms, some quotes, some things. But her not having any of those and just looking and acting like a normal person who is just like an old woman who has eccentric thoughts and eccentric behaviors basically. Basically, it reduces the perception of her threat level, if you have to say it that way. It reduces the perception of her threat level. But with weapons, I think Zach Cregger, if I do not like Barbarians, I think you redeemed yourself with this one. I'll be waiting to see what happens if there's going to be a sequel going late for this one, because I think he's also working on a Resident Evil movie, original scripts, different from everything that they've done before. But if this is what you're going to be serving up in your horror movies, I think I'm rocking with you. So Weapons 2025, what do I give this one now as a rating? Weapons 25, I think we can go with 9. I think we can go with 9. That's as solid as it gets. Not really solid, that's great, that's impeccable, that's masterful to me. We can even bump it up to a 9.5, so I don't mind a 9.5. The criticism I have for this movie is basically almost non-existent. It's there, but it's non-existent. I like the storyline. The believability was on 100. I like the plot, I like the framing, I like the shots. I think he delivered to the best of his abilities on a budget that is not a $250 million movie that needs so much. Basically, I think $38 million was the budget, and we are seeing that it brought back almost 10 times the budget in revenue. Whatever studio you're working with, they're basically asking and begging you to go and make another one. Because if you can make 10 times your budget on a horror movie, then I think you are basically on your way towards touching the stars. So Weapons, I give that a 9.5. One of my best movies of the year. One of the best movies of the year for everyone who has seen it. And if you don't agree with me, I think you need to put down your thoughts in the comment section, or we can see if we can battle it out and settle it again. So the bootleg on the bootleg corner. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, to share, to comment, and all that stuff. Keep it locked in.